You are not a slave to desire, the four foods that are secretly feeding your suffering last night. At some point, you picked up your phone, and you cannot remember deciding to. There was no choice, no moment where you waited and said yes. 1 second you were sitting with a faint, unnamed discomfort, a hollowness somewhere behind the sternum, and the next second your thumb was already moving, already scrolling, already feeding. 20 minutes disappeared, maybe an hour, and when you finally put it down, here is the strange part. The hollowness was still there, except now it was heavier. You've done this with the phone. You've done it with the shopping cart at midnight, items you barely wanted, ordered to feel a 10-second pulse of aliveness. You've done it with the fourth episode, the sixth. You've done it with the fridge door, standing in its light, not hungry. And you've told yourself the story everyone tells. I lack discipline. I'm addicted to my phone. I need more willpower. You're wrong. And the reason you're wrong is going to reframe every craving you've ever had. You were never weak. You were hungry. Genuinely, structurally hungry, but for something no screen, no purchase, and no refrigerator has ever contained. There is a 25-century-old teaching that names exactly what you've been trying to feed, identifies the four kinds of food every human being consumes daily, three of which you've never once thought of as food, and explains why the way you're eating them is quietly poisoning you. The Buddha told a story about this. It involves two parents, a desert, and the most horrifying meal ever described in a sutra. And once you hear it, you will never scroll the same way again. Here is the teaching, and if you are a student of mindfulness, it may be the most practical map you will ever receive. Nothing can survive without food. That is the Buddha's starting point, so plain it sounds trivial. But then comes the turn. Your suffering is also alive. Your loneliness, your craving, your anxiety, your despair, they are living things. And like all living things, they cannot continue without being fed. If your pain has persisted for years, it is because every single day something has been feeding it. Find the food source, and you hold the root of the entire problem. So the teaching names the four foods, the four nutriments that every one of us consumes, whether we know it or not. The first is edible food, the food of the mouth, the obvious one, what you eat and drink and how you eat it, mindfully tasting, present, or numbly standing at the counter using the food to press something down. The second, and here the teaching begins to see straight through modern life, is sense impressions. Everything that enters through your eyes, your ears, your attention, every video, every headline, every advertisement engineered to create a lack in you and then sell you its filling. Every argument you scroll through, every image of a life more beautiful than yours, all of it is food. It enters you. It becomes part of your consciousness exactly as literally as a meal becomes part of your body. You have been consuming this food 18 hours a day, and you have never once checked what was in it. The third is volition, the food of your deepest intention. What you want most is what feeds your life direction. If your deepest wish is wealth, status, revenge, escape, that desire is a food, and it nourishes a particular kind of person. This is the nutriment that consumer culture hijacks at the root. It doesn't just sell you products, it installs the wanting itself, then feeds on your feeding. And the fourth is consciousness, the subtlest food of all. Every day you consume your own mind. When you replay the old grievance, you are eating it again. When you marinate in self-criticism at 2 a.m., you are feeding on poison you grew yourself. And collectively, the moods of the people around you, the rage of the comments section, the despair of the feed, you are drinking from the shared consciousness of your environment daily, like water from a well no one tests. Four foods: the mouth, the senses, the will, the mind. And now the question the whole teaching turns on. What happens when a person eats without looking? The Buddha answered with a story so severe that he apologized before telling it. A young couple, he said, set out to cross a vast desert with their small child. Partway across, they miscalculated. The food ran out, the desert stretched on, and death became certain for all three. And so the parents did the unthinkable, To survive, to carry the family line across the desert, they killed their little boy and ate his flesh. With every mouthful they wept, beating their chests, crying out, "Where is our beloved child? Where is our son?" And then the Buddha turned to his monks and asked, "Did those parents enjoy their food? Did they eat for pleasure, for distraction, for craving?" "No," the monks answered, shaken. "They ate in agony, only to survive." "That," said the Buddha, "is how a wise person consumes, as if every act of consumption were that grave." And then the blade of the teaching: when we consume without mindfulness, when we eat, watch, scroll, and crave without looking at what we are taking in, we are eating the flesh of our own son. We are devouring the very things most precious to us: our peace, our time, our attention, which is our life, our capacity for joy. We consume to escape a small pain, and in the consuming, we destroy the large treasure. Now hold that image and look again at last night. The hollowness rose, a moment of loneliness, the second nutriment of your own consciousness surfacing to be seen. And instead of looking at it, you fed. You poured an hour of sense impressions on top of it, engineered images, other people's anger, other people's curated lives. The loneliness was not nourished with what it needed, so it did not die. It grew. And what did the feeding cost? The hour itself, the presence, the quiet evening that was your actual life, eaten in mouthfuls of scroll while you wept, somewhere too deep to hear, "Where is my beloved time? Where is my life?" You were never lacking willpower. You were caught in a perfect loop. Pain arises, craving offers escape, consumption feeds the pain grows and returns hungrier. The loop doesn't break with discipline, it breaks with seeing. So here is the practice: mindful consumption, and notice that it is not abstinence. This teaching has never been about renouncing the world. It is about doing for your four foods what you would do for any meal: reading the ingredients. Begin with sense impressions, because that is where the modern battle is. For one day, before you consume anything, before opening the app, before starting the episode, before clicking the article, pause for a single breath and ask one question: is this nourishing or is it toxic? Not, is it enjoyable? Toxins are engineered to be enjoyable. Ask, after I take this in, what will it have fed? The seeds of calm, understanding, and joy in my store consciousness, or the seeds of craving, comparison, anxiety, and despair? You already know how to do this. You would never eat food from a source you knew to be contaminated, no matter how good it tasted. Extend exactly that intelligence to your eyes and ears. Some feeds are contaminated, some shows water nothing in you but agitation. Some purchases are not purchases at all. They are attempts to eat your way out of a feeling that cannot be eaten away. Then, deeper, when the craving itself arises, the itch for the phone, the pull toward the cart, don't obey it and don't fight it. Look at it, breathe, and ask the craving what it is covering. Underneath the urge to consume, there is always a feeling waiting: loneliness, boredom, grief, fear. That feeling is the child crying in the next room. Consumption is the noise you turn up so you can't hear it. Mindfulness is walking into the room and picking the child up. Breathe with the loneliness itself. I know you are there, and I am here. And watch what happens to the craving when the thing it was hired to hide finally gets held instead. This is the whole reversal. Consumer culture survives on the promise that the hollow can be filled from outside. The Four Nutriments teaching answers, with 25 centuries of quiet authority. The hollow is not a lack of things, it is a lack of presence. And presence cannot be purchased, downloaded, or delivered. It can only be practiced. So tonight, run the experiment. When the hollowness comes, and it will, it is faithful. Don't reach for the feed. Sit down inside the feeling instead. Breathe in and know that something in you is hungry. Breathe out and ask it gently what it actually wants, not what it wants to consume, what it wants to feel. You will find it is never really asking for the phone. It is asking to be seen, to rest, to be in contact with your own life again, the life that has been sitting right there unattended while you fed at other tables. Four foods enter you every day. the mouth, the senses, the will, the mind. You have been eating in the dark for years. Turn on the light, read what you're consuming, and stop, at last, eating what was never food.